welcome Razia Hadayat, MBE, to Diaspora Voices.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm happy to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, are you getting used to your title, MBE?
Yes, kind of, because I have to keep on reminding myself. And yeah, then they say, I think we went to a meeting and one of my colleagues that was there, and he was saying, oh, she doesn't go a day without telling anyone that she's got the MBE. And I was saying, well, it's different for you because he's got an MBE as well, Ashfaq, for Kick It Pathways to Recovery. And I said that because the guys in Sparkbrook there's quite a few of them that got the MBE, but women are not recognized for their community work. And for me, being from a Kashmiri and a Pakistani background and having an MBE in Sparkbrook, I'm the first female. So I think it holds a bit more value, especially for females who feel that they can't achieve anything. And I'm, happy to be a role model and someone that gives the confidence to other women to take those steps, especially in community work, because it's not easy.
No. Well, you held a celebration recently, quite rightly, to share your award with your friends and family and work colleagues. And there were a number of people who spoke about your work. And Raja Amin, one of your mentors, who is himself an MBE, described you as a leader. And another person, he was a prison imam, he said the following words: what Razia does, the passion she shows in her work, I can't put it into words. First time she came into our prison, I could see she had the desire and the ability to make a difference. Some people are just words, but not Razia. With her, action always follows. And a local sergeant had said, you make my job so much easier in the work we're trying to do in the community with community-based policing. Without people such as yourself, who are passionate about this area, who love their work as you do, and have the networks that you have created, our job, he said, would be impossible. So thank you. And I also said a few words that you give, especially the women in our community, a chance to shine and make a difference. And you're a pioneer and a role model. We will, in due course, hear about your work, but just to start off, just give us a little background information about your Kashmiri connection.
Yeah, okay. I'm actually born from. I was born in Birmingham myself, and my husband, he's from Pakistan. He's from Kashmir side, and we live in a small village in Machari. So when and my grandparents, obviously, and my parents, who are also now in the UK, but my grandparents have passed away. When when the India and they split from Pakistan and Kashmir, we still stayed where we are, so we didn't move. So from our history, we've been there for over 200 years. So we've always been in our village. It is a beautiful village, and I've been there loads of times. And so I took a lot of interest in Kashmir and Pakistan. Really, once I went to obviously to get married. Well, I got married in this country. My husband came from Pakistan. It was when I'd done one of my assignments, and they asked me to write on a leader. And I spoke to my mentor, and obviously you look at the common ones that they gave a list of. And he said, oh, why do you want to do those? He goes, why don't you do Qaid Azam, Pakistani leader? So I thought, yeah, actually that would be a good one. It wasn't on the list. They said we could choose our own. So I started doing a lot of research, and that made me more interested in the history and the background of Pakistan and how we got our independence and everything. So that's where my passion about my own back home in the country became more interesting to me.
Yes, thank you. Let's focus on your work, your current work. So, what is Hamaya Haven?
Hamaya Haven is a community interest company, and we're an organization, and we that work with Black and Asian ethnic minorities. We support families who have someone or a loved one in prison or in custody. Recently, we're also trying to target work with the police is to work with the young people who are actually at risk on antisocial behavior. So they're at high risk of going into prison. And I've recently have you seen, like all the youth issues that we're having, like drugs, crime, especially like only a couple of days ago in Smalley, there was a shooting where two lads got shot and one died. But it's just like becoming normal. And those are the kind of scary things. How do we move from this now? Because we've got a lot of knife crime, drugs. It's just really terrible at the moment.
Yes, well, obviously I'm familiar with your work. When I was there recently, I picked up your leaflet about your organization, and in it you list a long number of services you provide: support for families, mentoring, one-to-one support, outreach, work with schools, and the list goes on. How do you manage that? Do you do it on your own, or do you have other people?
No, we've got Soumya, who's a family and engagement worker, and she does a lot of the outreach. So she does the day-to-day phone calls and support they need. We've got Zobia, who's also a director. She does a lot of the website, social media, so that the word gets out about what we're doing and everything that we have done. We have someone who does our admin and finance. It could be volunteers, or we had someone from Kickstarter, but his term ended, and we'll probably get someone else. So we get students from university as well. And they actually enjoyed it because one of the girls that we had, she was really quiet, shy, but she said that we could see her day-to-day confidence was growing as she was working as a volunteer. And so yeah, we do get volunteers. We're looking at someone now in the community who's going to start with us next week. So yeah, we're always open to volunteers because all the help that we can get, it helps. Otherwise, it's too much work.
So how long has the organization been in existence?
It's 5 years. I can't believe it. That is 5 years. Do you remember when I rang you up and said this is what I'm thinking of doing, and can you give me some advice? Do you think it's a good idea? And when I sit back and think 5 years on, that we've done a lot, we've achieved a lot. I'm so proud of what we've achieved as the whole team. Without my team, it's not just me, it's the whole team that we work together. I've got a brilliant team, and also we were fortunate to secure funding from reaching communities with people saying that you're not going to be able to do it. So I thought, I believe that there's always a yes or a no. There's no maybe. Maybe you'll get the funding. It's either a yes or a no. So it's not going to hurt to try. So the application took over a year, because we had to go back and forth. And I prefer to have a meeting face to face than email, because you can't come across as you would verbally than to an email. And I think for us, we were really fortunate to secure that funding just before the lockdown, from COVID-19. And I don't know where we would be if we didn't secure the funding and COVID kicked in. I think we would have been a different story. But I know COVID was not a nice time for people, but for us, funding-wise, we really benefited because we were able to support more families. And also, in COVID, all the visits were stopped completely. So prisoners didn't have any visit at all. They were locked in their cells for 23 and a half hours, and they're only selected certain time half an hour they can go and have a shower and stuff. Because some prisons have showers in the cells, and a lot of them don't. And I think what the prisons also learnt, they learnt a new way of dealing with something. Probably some of them done it really quick. Some of them did it is the video calls that were able to uh, visit through, like doing Zoom calls with the families. So which they call the purple visits. So that's what they made changes to. So they made a lot of changes as well. And I think also what we were speaking to Imam Jay, the one who came to our event, what what they were saying is that, a lot of people lost families while they were in prison, from death to COVID. So they were able to let them see the family member before, or they couldn't attend the funerals physically, but they could on Zoom. So those were the lot of changes that happened within the prison as well. And I think the families found it really hard. Obviously, lockdown for us was difficult with mental health and well-being, but you can imagine what it was like for the prisoner, who was not even allowed out, not allowed to socialize within themselves. So they had no social activities, no nothing. The mental health and well-being is quite high in prison. Suicide rates are really high. Self-harming is really high. And I know people think that, oh, they're having a holiday camp there and having this, but I've been inside quite a few prisons as a visitor. It's not a nice area to be in, to be honest. It's just awful. And I can understand why people come out with mental health issues. And one of the things we're going to look at now as well is, when they come out, if they got long term, say like 5 years plus, when they come out, the family have moved on for 5 years, but they've come out, they're thinking, oh, everything's back normal where it was. The kids have grown up, your siblings have grown up. If you're the husband, you want to take over, but the female's been taken over for the years you were in, and it's very difficult for the family unit to get back together. So those are the kind of issues that we're going to look into, because our focus is families, and we didn't want to try to do too many different things, because then you can't really do your work well in one topic. So I think those are some of the issues that most of our families that we started supporting when we set Hamaya Haven up were long term. So we've only had one person that's come out, and one only had a short term, like 6 weeks. So it didn't really make much of an impact, but we haven't really seen anyone come out. So so we're going to see, and also a lot of the cases over COVID were delayed. So if someone was in remand, whether he was guilty or not guilty, they spent over a year before the court cases are being heard. And when they started opening the courts, they were dealing with murder, crimes, and those manslaughter. So all the little petty crimes got left behind. So yeah, so people have spent a lot of time waiting. So it's the impact on the family is so bad that we've got one family working with now, and I think they've moved their case now till September, and I think he went in early beginning of the year. So they're like, where you normally 6 months maximum wait that you got to get the court cases in and resolved, but these are going on for over a year.
Yeah. Yeah, you told us that you've been in existence 5 years, and I remember some of those earlier conversations. Just for our viewers, just tell us why you decided to focus on the families of those affected by prison.
I think
why this particular area of need and not something else?
I think what happened is we were supporting someone in the family at the time, and this is like what happened is a daily normal day. Everyone's gone to work, they're gone to college, gone to do what they want to do, and there was an incident, and the family's son was arrested and taken into hospital. So because they're looking at it on the criminal side, they wouldn't anyone visit in the hospital. So he had to go through the operation, and the family still couldn't see him. And they took him to court after 2 days, and they remanded him. So for the family, it was trauma, shock, what's going on. They didn't even know if their son had died in the car accident. Then they remanded him, and And the mom, when I spoke to her and she was crying, and I said, oh, what did they say about the visits? And she said, they said you have to book it via email. And she says, I don't know how to use an email. How am I going to book a visit? So that made me think that, that how many people are in that situation that can't read and write and can't use the internet or social, the computers, and they don't have any knowledge of it. So how are they going to do it? So I realized there's no one else doing this service, and there's a gap in the community for that, for those kind of services. And it took me about 6 months. I wanted to do something for myself, set up an organization after I was made redundant, and I didn't want to work for someone else. If I had to look for funding to secure my own job, I must do my own. That's what made me decide to do it. And I wanted to do the prison work, but I was thinking that, how are we going to get accepted by the community? Is it a good thing? So obviously, like yourself, I spoke to you, spoke to Arif, spoke to quite a few other people before I stepped into that, I would say, market. But when I went in, it was then again when we were making our first leaflet, we were thinking that should we put this on it? Should we put prison on it? Should we let people know that we're actually working with prisoners or prisons? Yes. And we thought, so we had to think about a lot of things, and 6 months went down the line, and then we were thinking, should we put handcuffs, on our leaflet? And then we decided, no, let's go and let's put prison on it. Let's put handcuffs on it so people know what we're doing. And we had funding from Awards for All, and we've done a lot of workshops around community settings to tell them what we're doing. And because I was previously working in the community, which I have done now for over 24 years, I didn't have to go on network to find people. I had to just go and tell the same people that already knew that this is what I want to do. This is what we're doing. So that's what made us do it. We found that there was a need in the community, and obviously the stats are showing that the Muslim community, especially the Pakistani and Kashmiri, are going up. The numbers are going up where the other numbers are going down. And most of our clients are females. They have language barriers. Yeah. So they can't read and write. They don't know how to navigate the criminal justice system. They don't know how to book visits. They think they can drive up and take clothes and this, and go in, but it's not like that. So we have to remind them, you can't do that. You have to follow the protocol. And one thing that we have to always remind them, that we don't have authority over the prisons. We're here to support you. So that sometimes they do expect a lot from us. Like, you could ring the prison and tell them to do this and do this. And one thing we also understand that, the prisoner themselves, they tell a lot of stuff to the families that are not necessarily true. So we have to be careful how we either email the prison or speak to the prison, that we have to say that we've been told by the family that this is what's happening. Then they clarify things. So there is a lot of that stuff going on as well.
Yes, I read somewhere that there is a disproportionate presence of Muslims, which is probably mainly Pakistani, Kashmiri community in the prison service. I think, I'm not sure what the current statistics are, but some time ago it was 16% in the prison. And with a large Muslim presence in Birmingham area where you are based, that must mean quite a lot of people from within the Pakistani Kashmiri community who are affected by prison.
Yeah, there is. We wrote it on just on our evaluation. I think we put down, I think you're right, it's 16%, but overall, it's double compared to the community that we've got from the Kashmiri and Pakistani background in England and Wales, not just Birmingham. I know Birmingham is the highest, but yeah, we're way higher than the average nationally, to be fair. And I can't see how we're going to resolve this, because this has been brain boggling for me over the last few weeks. I've been thinking, because we've seen a lot of kids with machetes that they walk around with it in the day like it's nothing. The gun crime, you can see what's happening in Alam Rock, the videos that are going around, with the attacks are being made on people in kind of broad daylight or set up. I don't know where have everyone gone wrong. One of the things that comes to my mind, that when we were younger, if we were brought up by the family, not just your parents. So if your grandfather or grandmother or your chacha or anyone else said anything to you, your parents wouldn't say that. Why did you say that to my child? Whereas if you say something now to another person's child, they jump down your throat. So basically, that's where it's broken, isn't it? So people know now that no one's gonna tell or no one's gonna say anything. So we're at